The world of custom LEGO can be very daunting, especially if you're new to it, but don't worry. I've compiled a list of all the major custom LEGO Star Wars retailers that I know of and what you can expect from them. Let's not waste any time and we're going to get right into it. Starting off with the one that almost everyone knows by now, the OG Clone Army Customs. They've been in the game for a really long time and they're probably the biggest operation out of all of them that we're going to be going through today. They have their own warehouse out in Missouri and they produce some of the highest quality and highest detail custom pad printed clone troopers. They do sell some other characters, but it's mostly clones. You can find some Mandalorians and stuff on their website as well. They've got lots of custom injected molded accessories and helmets and all sorts of other things that you could need to fully deck out your clone army. I personally don't buy too much CAC. I'm not the biggest fan of the over detailed 360 degree printing and everything, but if that's something you're into, CAC is perfect for you. Moving on next to AV Figures. AV Figures started out doing just decals so people could make their clone armies for cheap compared to all the really expensive prints that were out there. But nowadays, they still do all of the decals, don't worry. But they've mostly switched over to doing prints and other things. They've expanded to doing some pad printing on their helmets and everything. And I think their pad printed figures and helmets are great. I'm personally not a big fan of decals because you have to keep them in a really climate controlled area. Otherwise the decals are going to erode very, very quickly. But if you're someone who's really into customizing your troopers yourself to save some money, AV Figures is a great choice for you. Next is the new kid on the block, Grandpa Clone Customs, or GCC as you'll probably see it referred to most of the time. GCC started only about a little more than a year ago now, but they're really made a name for themselves really fast. GCC is almost a one-to-one replica of what LEGO does for their figures. On mostly official parts, they do use custom helmets because coming across official helmets in large quantities is very difficult. But they do make a lot of clone legions matching the same style of LEGO almost exactly. So these are clones that are perfect to fit into your army without looking super out of place like something like AV or CAC would. So if you're like me and really want everything to be uniform, I think GCC is a great option. I personally have been a part of their community for a very long time. I'll leave the Discord link in the description below. That's where you'll get most updates. Unfortunately, because they're newer, a lot of their stock does go very fast when they new releases, so you will need to keep up with them in Discord in order to buy the newer stuff as it releases. But that's GCC for you, and we'll move on to the next. That being Big Kid Bricks. Now, this is probably one I have some of the least experience with out of all of them. I've only really bought their Tipley and Tiplar. If you want a more in-depth review on them, I highly recommend checking out the review done by On The Brick. I will link his channel in the description below. You can check out his Big Kid Bricks reviews. My experience with Big Kid Bricks, it wasn't too bad. The only issue I have is that the print is really thickly laid on UV print, and it started to chip a little bit on one of my figures, as you can see right here. But other than that, my experience with Big Kid Bricks isn't too bad. They do a lot of Legends characters that most people will never cover. And so if you really want some very unique characters, specifically from Legends, I would highly recommend checking out Big Kid Bricks for those needs. Next, we have probably one of the more controversial picks on here, Bagle Studio. Now, Bagle Studio does a lot of custom designs that use custom molds, and they are fully pad printed most of the time. He does them in collaboration with Legend C-Mock. Now, because of the nature of how they do it, they usually don't give out a timeline for the figures, so you'll place an order for a figure usually around $100 to $150, and you won't know when you're going to get it. Most of the time it takes a year, if not more, to get to you. But I do think that the figure is excellent. So far, I've only ever had experience with the Bagels Cal, Trilla, and Darth Vader, but I have placed orders for a lot of other figures that are just not in yet, and I've placed most of them over the course of this year, and I still don't have any of them. So if you're not a person who wants to wait a long time, I think you're going to want to steer clear of Bagels, but if you're willing to wait, then I do think the figures are great. Up next we have Firear Toys. They have really great quality UV prints, and they do custom printed arms, which is I think their most popular service. They do custom printed arms for most official LEGO figures, so if you wanted to add some extra little detail to your figures that don't have arm printing, I think Firear Toys is a great choice. They also do some other stuff, like they have Invincible figures, which I tried to order. Unfortunately, they recently had a fire at their workplace and lost a bunch of stock. I did get refunded, but I don't have any of their figures on hand besides this Stormtrooper Commander from Star Wars The Force Unleashed, which is a really, really nice figure. I can do a further video review on them if that's something y'all are interested in. Now, lastly, for full custom figures, we have Nanor Rex. Now, Nanor Rex is kind of like Bagels. They don't do mini designs, but when they do, they're very, very highly detailed, usually using custom molds and custom prints on those custom molds. Now, Nanor Rex is a lot more transparent than Bagels. They'll usually work in collaboration with other figure producers, and they're usually a lot more transparent about the timeline of when the figure will actually get to you. Now, moving on from people who produce full figures, we've got two companies that are pretty similar, so I'm gonna lump them together. We've got the Cape Cantina and Capes for Minifigs. They're both really, really good companies. I've ordered from both of them. I can't really point out the cloth I have from them to you because I don't remember which ones I got, but I do remember that both were very easy experiences. The cloth came in really nicely and fit on the figures great, and their cloth is held up. It hasn't yellowed or anything like something from CAC would, although I haven't had issues with CAC cloth in a while. But if you want some cheap Lego style cloth, then I recommend both places. And then lastly, we're gonna cover where you can buy instructions for custom Lego MOCs. I have done reviews on a few of them, but really the only one that I can 100% recommend as a specific website is going to be BrickVault. BrickVault does a lot of quality testing on all their models. They build all of them in-house and work directly with the designers to make sure that their model is as easy to build as it can be. That doesn't mean the models will always be easy to build, but they will definitely be much easier than something you will usually find on Rebrickable, where a person only ever assembles the model digitally and never physically. So with BrickVault, you can be assured that you will have a buildable model if you buy from them. Now, how easy it's gonna be, that differs. But I have their Venator and I think it's great. I personally had a fun time building it, even if it took a while with 11,000 pieces. But that's going to do it for the Lego instructions section. If you're willing to brave Rebrickable, there are a lot of other really good designs and designers on there, but BrickVault is the only place I'm going to recommend to you. Anyways, guys, that was my quick little guide to buying custom Lego Star Wars in the year of 2024. I will shortly be coming out with a full year in review for Grandpa Clone Customs because I bought almost every single one of the figures that they released this year. I did want to give one more honorable mention to a company I don't have very much experience with. It's not really a company, it's a YouTuber. Mayday Figs also does some custom Lego stuff. He made the Zealous Hunter, which I missed out on, so I don't have it on hand. But Mayday is a really cool guy, and I think that if you ever see one of his figure designs, and I think he's planning on coming out with more, I would highly recommend trying to get one of them because his figure designs are just really, really good. They works in collaboration with various people in the community. And anyone who's listed as a reseller on any of the websites that I gave you today are also very good. I know off the top of my head, Camino Bricks and Crosshair Bricks, I'll link both of them in the description as well. I've worked with them and they're very, very nice and they are very trustworthy sellers. But that's going to do it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for more content coming out soon. I promise I won't take another big break again. And I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.